Hello, my name is Emily, and for as long as I can remember, antique dolls have held a peculiar fascination for me. There's something almost magical about them, don't you think? Each doll, with its worn paint and faded garments, tells a story of a time long past. They are like little time capsules, each one a silent witness to the lives of their previous owners, their joys, their sorrows, their secrets. This passion of mine has led me to amass quite a collection over the years. Dolls of porcelain and cloth with glassy eyes and painted smiles, each one unique and in its own way enchanting. The thrill of finding a new piece, the anticipation as I carefully unwrap it, the joy of discovering the intricate details that make it special, the weight of history in my hands. It's an experience that never grows old. But among my collection, there is one doll that's different from the rest. A marionette, to be precise. Her name is Isabella. She's not the prettiest or the most delicately crafted, but there's something about her that catches the eye. She's clad in a faded dress of rich velvet, her face carved from wood, her eyes glassy and eerily lifelike. Her limbs, controlled by strings, can be made to move in a way that's almost human. But it's not just her appearance that sets Isabella apart. There's something else, a feeling that's hard to put into words, an inexplicable chill that runs down your spine when you're alone with her, the sense that you're being watched, that she's more than just a doll. Isabella is not just an addition to my collection. She's a mystery, a conundrum wrapped in velvet and wood. Every time I look at her, I can't help but wonder about her past, about the hands that crafted her, the strings that make her dance, the spirit that seems to linger within her. One doll, however, stood out among the rest. Her name was Isabella, and her story, my friends, is one that's sure to send a shiver down your spine. On a gloomy evening, I decided to examine Isabella closely, an act I would come to regret. The air was heavy, pregnant with a sense of foreboding, as I placed her on a small wooden stage. The stage was minimalistic, but it somehow added to her sinister aura. I reached out tentatively, my fingers tracing the rough contours of the crank embedded in her back. As I slowly turned it, the room filled with the discordant melody of her mechanical movements. The sight was chilling. Isabella's limbs danced in an unnatural rhythm, each movement a grotesque parody of human grace. The spectacle was both captivating and horrifying, a dreadful ballet of wood and strings. And then it happened. The faintest of whispers reached my ears, a chilling caress in the stillness of the room. It was a sound beyond explanation, a spectral lullaby that seemed to emanate from Isabella herself. My heart pounded in my chest, a frenzied drum echoing the rhythm of my growing fear. Then, her eyes. They glowed in uncanny crimson twin beacons in the gloom. The eerie red light seemed to pulse with a life of its own, casting long, monstrous shadows across the room. It was as if Isabella was staring right into my soul, her gaze penetrating the veil of my sanity. The fear was intoxicating, a potent cocktail of dread and fascination. I tried to move, to break the hypnotic spell she had cast, but my feet felt rooted to the spot. A cold chill ran down my spine as I felt an invisible force pulling me back towards her. It was an insidious tug, a spectral leash that bound me to her will. Suddenly, I felt an invisible force pulling me back towards Isabella, and that's when I realized something was terribly wrong. The room spun around me, the walls closing in as the haunting melody of Isabella's dance echoed in my ears. I was trapped, caught in the malevolent web of a marionette's sinister performance. As I watched in horror, Isabella's dance turned into a grotesque contortion of limbs. The once elegant marionette, whose movements were once filled with a sense of grace and beauty, was now writhing in a horrifying display of unnatural agility. The delicate doll, so seemingly frail, was now a spectacle of terror. The room fell silent save for the thunderous pounding of my heart, echoing in the vast emptiness of the room. The air grew dense, as though the very breath was being sucked out of me. And then, the lightning struck. The sky outside roared, illuminating the room with a flash of blinding light. As the deafening thunder echoed through the room, Isabella's strings snapped. The tension that held her aloft was suddenly gone, and the doll fell lifeless onto the wooden stage. The sight of her lifeless form was both terrifying and relieving. The room fell silent once again, and I could hear the rain pouring outside, as though nature itself was mourning the loss of something deeply unnerving. As I stared at the lifeless doll, the realization hit me like a bolt of lightning. Isabella was more than just a doll. She was a vessel, a conduit for something far more sinister. The chilling thought sent a shiver down my spine, a cold reminder of the terrifying dance I had just witnessed. In that moment, I understood the true nature of Isabella. The doll was not just an antique, it was a relic, a remnant of a time long past, carrying with it a spirit that was malevolent and vengeful. In sheer terror, I locked Isabella away, vowing never to unleash her again. I locked her in a chest, hidden away from the world, in the hope that the spirit within her would remain dormant. But deep down, I knew that Isabella was more than just a doll. She was a haunting reminder of the dance that had taken place on that gloomy evening. Years passed and I moved on, but the haunting presence of Isabella persisted. It was as if she was bound to me, a shadow that refused to detach itself. I could feel her eyes on me, her eerie gaze penetrating through the veil of my consciousness. I would catch glimpses of her in the corner of my eye, only for her to vanish when I turned to look. A chill would run down my spine, my breath would hitch, and I knew she was there, watching, waiting. My dreams were no longer a refuge from the waking nightmare. Isabella invaded them, turning my slumber into a theater of terror. Each night I would find myself back on that stormy evening, her grotesque dance playing out in an endless loop, her crimson eyes boring into mine. I would wake up in a cold sweat, her silent laughter ringing in my ears. Sleep became a luxury I could no longer afford. The air around me always seemed heavier, the silence more profound. It was as if Isabella's curse had seeped into the very fabric of my existence. I could hear the soft whisper of her name in the wind, feel the cold touch of her spirit brushing against my skin. Every antique doll in my collection seemed to bear her mark, their glassy eyes reflecting her malevolent glare. I would find myself staring at the chest I had locked her in, a shiver of dread coursing through me. The fear of what lay inside was a constant companion, a reminder of the night that had forever changed my life. The chest was a prison, but it felt like Isabella was the jailer and I, the prisoner. Living with Isabella's lingering curse was a torment in itself. Her presence was a spectral shroud draped over my life, a chilling reminder of the terror I had unleashed. I felt her presence in every corner of my life, a constant reminder of the curse that lingered. I live with the hope that someday someone braver will confront the spirit within Isabella. These words echo in the silence of my doll room, a chilling reminder of the terror that once danced on a small wooden stage. The fear of Isabella is a living thing, a malevolent specter that refuses to be locked away in a chest. It seeps through the keyhole, creeping into my dreams, turning them into nightmares. It's a constant whisper in the back of my mind, a pair of glowing crimson eyes that watch from the shadows. Isabella may be confined, but her spirit is as free as the wind and just as impossible to capture. Her curse is a heavyweight, a burden I bear with every tick of the clock. It's a scar that refuses to fade, a haunting melody that plays on a loop, reminding me of the night when the dance of the marionette turned into a grotesque contortion of limbs. The memory is as vivid as the lightning that illuminated her sinister silhouette, as deafening as the silence that followed her fall. But within this fear, within this curse, there is a sliver of hope. A hope that someday, someone braver, someone stronger, will confront the spirit within Isabella. Someone who can look into those crimson eyes and not be paralyzed by fear. Someone who can turn the crank on her back and not be compelled to dance to her haunting tune. Perhaps that person will succeed where I failed. Perhaps they will finally free Isabella from the malevolent spirit that has claimed her as its vessel. Perhaps they will silence the whispers, extinguish the crimson glow, and bring an end to the terrifying dance. Perhaps they will break the curse and give me the peace I've been longing for. But until that day, the curse of Isabella lingers, a chilling testament to my terrifying encounter with the haunted marionette.